So here we start in the center with what I'm going to call the belief, feelings, actions circle, and it's an expanding circle. So we begin with the belief in the center. Now these beliefs are held in your mind only, and they are absolutely what you believe to be true, although you may not have any evidence to support them, and largely a lot of the beliefs that people hold in their minds are not true. However, let's say this belief has been built up over time, and it began maybe when you were a child, and you start to believe that you're not good enough, or you're not as good as somebody else, or people are going to leave you if you let them get close to you, or something like that. Now that belief that is held, I call it the story or the script that you hold in your mind, and it's like a blueprint that you then continue to drive your life by. You see, it's a lens that you see everything in life through. So let's say I am not good enough is a belief that we've picked up over our life, whether it's in childhood, implications, authority figures, in school, however it's come, it doesn't really matter. Let's say you hold it, okay? Now that belief, I am not good enough, is going to be a lens that you look at life through. And the problem with this belief is, whether it's true or not, it directly affects the way you feel. So the feelings are directly affected then by this belief. So if you feel not good enough, or you believe you're not good enough in a certain situation, you will then feel inferior, let's say, in relation to other people, to somebody that you do perceive to be good enough. Or you will feel low, or depressed, or not very happy, basically, because you don't feel good enough. You may also feel very alone, feeling like you don't have much support. You may also feel, if you feel you're not good enough, you may feel that you are thick or stupid. You may feel these things in your body. You may feel stressed, anxious, nervous around people who you do perceive to be good enough. So these feelings are very powerful, obviously, and they are the indication, evidence of a mind-body connection. So this belief, thoughts in your mind, directly then affect the feelings in your body. So these feelings then tend to influence the way we behave and the way we act. So in a given situation, the outer circle here is the actions, stroke behaviors. Now, if you feel stressed in a certain situation because you believe that you're not good enough, then you are kicking in your emergency response in your body, and that emergency response is telling you to get away. So one of the actions that may follow from this feeling is to run away, or what you could call avoid a situation, avoid people that cause you to feel like this because you believe they are better than you. But when you avoid those people, then you miss out on life. Okay, if you feel low, then you may do something that will temporarily, transiently help you feel better. So you may eat food, which could be a comfort to somebody and transiently make them feel high, although then they drop back into this feeling of low again. You may, because you don't like feeling low, you may drink to get rid of these thoughts, alcohol, which leads to its own problems. You may cope using drugs, for instance. So the actions and behavior then are all serving to get rid of these feelings. So in drugs you may get a feeling of a transient high, a fake high, but obviously then the result in action causes you other problems in your life. Okay, if you feel inferior, you may well then act in a way that has a false kind of bravado or false confidence. And then other people will perceive you as somebody who's a show-off maybe, or somebody who's trying to prove something to the world, or isn't a very nice person even. So all of these, the belief basically you're holding in your mind, which is fueled by thoughts, which you probably don't have any evidence to support, because lots of people who believe they're not good enough achieve a huge amount in their life. Not good enough compared to who is the question. You know, the mind is constantly comparing. That's one of the things that it does. And people tend to then compare themselves against people that they feel are good enough. What about comparing yourself to somebody you're better than, you know, or that you have achieved more than? And that would then start to make you feel good about yourself, and then drive the actions. So what do you do about all of this? Well, what you do about it all is realize that here there is a gap, and this gap here is called your choice. The choice to act despite the way you feel. And that's obviously harder it's easier to say than it is to do. However, if this belief here that you have holding in your mind, if this is the kind of belief that you hold, it's not your fault that you picked this up, maybe due to other people's implications of what they've said about you over your life. However, it is absolutely your responsibility to change it, because you're the only one that can, because it's held in your mind and it's what you believe. So you're the only one that can then start to change that. And one of the ways you start to change it is to reverse engineer this process. So if I feel low, and I usually eat food or drink or do drugs to get a high, I can decide, if I'm aware of what I'm going, where I'm feeling, despite the way I feel, I can decide to take a different action. And the different action may well be a good one, which would be to go for a run. Or if I feel like I'm alone and I'm just about to avoid, then if I identify this feeling as unhelpful, I can then decide to engage with people instead, despite the way I feel. So you're starting to then realize the gap between stimulus here and feeling and response, i.e. action. And Viktor Frankl talked a huge amount about this in his book Man's Search for Meaning, which is recommended for anybody to read in life. But the point is, here you have a choice. No matter whether you think you have or you don't, you're always choosing to do things. If you can become aware of the way you feel, and now you start to become brain aware. So this idea of being brain aware is one of the actions that you can start to do for yourself if you are realize that you're acting in ways that you don't like and they're getting you results in your life that you don't like because of the way you feel. One thing you can do is start to reverse engineer this process. So when you feel like hiding away or avoiding or doing something that's unsatisfying and leads to bad things in your life, you decide to, despite the way you feel, act in a different way. Because every time you act in the way that your feeling is driving you to do at the moment, this action here, run away, this temporarily satisfies this feeling for you, and all you do then is from this you reinforce this belief, you make it stronger. So we're constantly now acting in a way that when I drink, then I do feel good enough for a temporary period of time, so that worked, but I actually realise I'm drinking too much, I'm an alcoholic maybe, so that reinforces that I'm not good enough. So all of these actions that you're doing at the moment, if they are based on feelings that you don't like, that are based on a belief that is false, that you've picked up somewhere, the way you do this is reverse engineer it by starting to act differently, because you realise that the belief isn't true, so the feelings can't be trusted, therefore the actions you're about to take are not good for you. You're going to break the cycle. You go for a run instead when you feel low, and that pokes a hole in this belief and says, I am good enough because I made a decision to do something. I made a decision that was good for me, that was healthy for me. So obviously there's a huge amount that we could talk about here, and we could go on for a long time with all of this. But the point is, you experience what you do. Thinking is doing something. If you want to become brain aware, you have to start to question the way you are thinking. The questions you could ask are, do I like this thought? And if the answer is no, do I like the way I'm feeling? If the answer is no, then you have to realize that you are the only one that can change that. You have a choice to act in a different way despite the way you feel, to start to change this process. That's all for now. That's my 10 minutes worth of how beliefs and thoughts affect feelings, and how those feelings affect your actions and behaviors in your life. And if they are unsatisfying, you keep repeating these actions, you're basically reinforcing the belief that you don't want. The way to do this is start to question the way you feel, question the way you're acting, and ask yourself whether you have a choice or not. You always have a choice. If you can become aware of that choice, you can then act in a different way. And that's you starting to drive the process of change. It's the beginning of changing something. Hope all is well. Take care. Have a great week. Bye.